there, folks. That's Elt.
And that's Emily.
And...
Or so she says.
Well, to be fair, you just said it. I didn't say it. I said that's Elt. You said that's Emily. You could have said whatever you wanted to say about me. You could have called me anything.
Oh, that's true.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Guys, this is what I have to put up with. And sometimes she even hits cymbals after she says it. This is what I'm dealing with. Okay, so
I prefer making my own cymbal sounds.
And she thinks she's good at it.
Well, you just hit them together. Oh, you mean my own sounds? Yeah, well, I'm sort of going for an alternative cymbal sound. Like a symbol of a symbol.
Oh, uh-huh. See, she thinks that's clever. Emily thinks, I don't know, how long did it take you to think that out? 4 days? 7 days? 12 days?
I don't want to say. But it's more or less than a month. So.
See, and when she does this, there's like a darkness that descends. And this darkness is just like a black hole. Just like the book we're going to speak about.
I don't know whether to be impressed or to shake my head at your segues, but I think in the spirit of finding the good things in life instead of the negative, I'm going to choose to enjoy how clever and sometimes silly your segues are.
Oh, thank you. We're going to, maybe one day we'll do a best of and see our different segues that we do. But this one, we are speaking about My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga that came out in 2015. Violence is a 3, language is a 3, romance is a 3. And this is in line with all the other teen depressing death books.
Yes, why are teens so depressed?
It's almost like someone wanted to acknowledge the fact that teens can or sometimes are depressed, or that teens do go through hard times, because your mind and your body are changing at different speeds, kind of. And then everybody did it. So it seems like all of them are about it. Or so many of these contemporary books are either about a teen being depressed or like a rom-com. There's almost, why can't it be about a teen
or both
who does something else? Yeah. Why does everybody either have to be dead or like falling in love and like sleeping with each other? And sometimes they combine them both into the same book.
That's true, often.
Yeah, there's so many, like Fault in Our Stars, and there's like all the other books that Before I Fall, all the other books that we can name for that.
Yeah. This one does follow that same template of, so you have the main character who's depressed, who's also super into a school subject. Something at school, a teacher assigns a project in that subject that they really like, and as they work on the project, they start to learn about life and themselves, and then there's another kid who also helps the main character learn about life and themselves, and then so far, the main character decides to live, but the friend may or may not live. So that one's up in the air, right? With Roman, that one. Yeah.
So it's almost,
I can't remember.
You could check out All the Bright Places episode. Don't remember the number, but go check it out to see another similar school project kind of story.
Yes.
Even though that one's about
and Chemical Hearts.
Yeah, that's right, Chemical Hearts. Even though, All the Bright Places was written from actual experience, and it seems like this one as well, the author was coming off of an experience of death that she wrote this about. I'll admit, but my books, I'm going to plug my book now. My book Silhouettes did also come off of that. Different people, the community had gone, the larger friend community had gone through a tough time. That's where the book came out of. So I don't want to bash that. I don't want to bash that. So it makes sense why the books are being written. The biggest thing is that what we'd like to see in these books is giving the teen a reason to live that's not a romance. That's part of If I Stay. So many books like this, it's just the teen has to find something beyond a romance to be living for. And the thing that is good in this book is that she does choose to live, which is fabulous. That she okay, I realize that I don't actually want to die. Oh, we'll have to describe the book. Okay, the short story is, Azelle, rhymed with gazelle, wants to die because of something her father did. Her father basically beat a kid to death because he went psycho. And then, so she finds out about this thing, suicide partners, that people pair up to commit suicide together because with so many suicides, people chicken out at the last moment. I don't say chicken out, but I would say they come to their senses probably at the last moment.
Right.
So, to make sure you go through with it, you have a suicide partner. So the suicide partner she meets is Roman, who he's all depressed because his younger sister, who I think she had some sort of issue.
She had seizures.
Oh, seizures, right. So she drowned under his watch. She was messing around with his girlfriend at that time, which is why, only one reason why you should be messing around with your girlfriend, but we're not going to go that dark. But so it happened on that, and he feels very guilty for it. And then he's also in depression, whatever. And I don't know, okay, that also shows what kind of depression he's in, that he's not thinking about what his parents might go through to lose 2 children.
Right.
I think that his parents are totally hate him that it happened, but his parents don't, there doesn't seem to be any anger from the parents. It seems like the parents are very loving of him and never say things like, well, you should have paid attention. We don't ever see those kinds of lines, which is good because it shows that the parents, it doesn't seem like the parents blame him for it, which is,
right.
I'm like, obviously they're sad about this. It's not, there's nothing joyous about this, but that's a much healthier approach. But he still takes so much responsibility for it. So it comes to the point where Azelle decides, okay, I'm not going to commit suicide, but Roman is still intent on committing suicide. Then she saves him, and it seems like, okay, look, we'll start working on things together. And he's mad at her for saving him and stuff like that. But again, she just decides, just because she met Roman and she fell in love, or I don't even know, what does she choose to live for? Like, I don't know why she chose, I'm glad she chose life, but I don't know if it tells us why she chose life.
I think it's a series of small things. Okay. Like they go to this fair or this carnival together, and she finds herself smiling. Yeah. Like there are a few things that she finds. She describes it as this big black slug inside of her. That's how she describes her depression, and that it eats everything else. So any other feeling that she might have is consumed by this black slug. But then she starts having positive feelings that are too strong for the black slug. So a lot of it has to do with Roman, but she does seem to find things beyond that, like thinking of her future, the science camp that her teacher recommends. Yeah. So I don't think this book was as well written as All the Bright Places, but I did prefer the message in this one because it was they both found reasons. Well, Azelle definitely found reasons to live. Roman obviously tried to kill himself, but spoilers, he doesn't die, and he's also at the end going to try to work on it. But there's also, she writes about, it's clear that their depression comes from how they see themselves, but not actually how the rest of the world sees them. In some of these, in All the Bright Places, Noah? Is that the guy's name? Why do I have Noah in my head? Or is that the actor's name? Anyway, the boy or whatever, he's a freak, and everyone says really mean things about him. Right. But Azelle people look at her weirdly because of what her father did, but for Roman, that's definitely not the case. He's super popular, and even Azelle, you see that she says all these negative things about her sister and her mom, and because of that, from her perspective, they cut her out and they don't treat her well, but you actually see her sister Georgia trying to be nice to her and trying to include her in things. Her mom obviously didn't deal with it well, but her mom was also divorced and then, married to the man who did this terrible thing, but people actually don't hate these two characters. So I thought it was good for them to realize, it was inside. They were perceiving that people hated them because they hated themselves. Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of people feel probably, is that they think everyone hates them, but it's actually not there. And if people try to communicate and ask questions, then it might not solve the depression, but it will definitely get you headed in the right direction to finding real help instead of keeping everything inside. And I thought that was a good point to make. Because it always bothers me when I hate movies and books where the plot or the problems come from miscommunication. Oh, yeah. It really bothers me. And in this, it's because with one simple question, you could fix it. Exactly. And this one, it felt like miscommunication was the problem, but it wasn't. But it was real miscommunication, a lack of communication because people don't know how to open up about themselves, and that rang pretty true.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's also like guilt. Like Roman felt too guilty to ever like, oh, my parents told me it's not my fault, but I know it is my fault. So it's also he was unwilling to hear the communication.
True.
Yeah. Which is probably part of
that
depression.
one. Yeah. And that one's reasonable. Like, number one, it was kind of his fault that his sister died. And also, I don't know if at 17 you have the presence of mind to understand that my parents would rather have me around, even if that pains them to look at me, than to have me also die and to lose both of their kids. I don't know if, as a teenager, you understand what pain you would put your parents through, and you do think you would make life easier for them. So, I don't blame him for thinking that way. Azelle is a little bit... I don't believe her character as much because her dad did this one thing, so she thinks she's going to be that way. But, there's no indication...
It's like, just because the dad's a certain way, that's something that you would never go there, but then the kid gets so convinced, like, oh, I'm going to go there. It's not like... It's different from, like, addiction that could... Like, it's not the same as addiction, right? Or it's not the same as someone has a certain kind of whatever medical issue that could actually be passed down. Like, if she's never seen herself giving into this kind of anger, why does she think she's going to become like that?
Exactly. See, that's... If there had been... Oh, I've recently been having episodes where I get so angry and I'm worried. That would have been an indication of, oh, no wonder you're feeling this way. But she never acted that way. So it was a little bit weird that she thought just because her father would be like that, that she would also be like that. Yeah. It's a little weird. I also... Well, there are a few more... Did we talk... Okay, romance is a 3. Because they do kiss. And the sister dies while Roman and his girlfriend are having sex. I was trying to think of a better way to say it.
Well, they're taking off each other's clothes. Yeah.
Yes. But that's kind of it. And also, Roman and Azelle don't have sex. How excited were you by that?
Yeah, they don't write books like that anymore. I shouldn't say, like, I'm kidding, but, like, all the other ones since then, they always have to sleep together at some point. Like, I don't know.
And it's like sleeping together is, oh, before we die, like we have to sleep together.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you, Jasmine Warga, for not having your characters have sex and having them realize that there were other things we're living for.
Yeah.
Language is a 3. It might be a 4. I couldn't find... I thought I had read it, like an F-bomb dropped once or twice, but I couldn't find it when I flipped back through, so reader beware. It's somewhere between a 3 or a 4.
Yeah. And violence is a 3 because it's all about the depression and the suicide and the dad beating the kid with a baseball bat, so.
Right.
I mean, not to be flippant about it, but that just sums it up. And also, Roman, you do get him, where he parked the car in the garage and he's trying to die from the fumes.
Right.
The book actually it gets a lot of things right. It's just, and there's nothing to do about the fact that if the author is going to write this kind of book, you can't say, oh, don't write this book because we don't want to see more teens depressed book. Because if this is the book she's got in her, this is the book she's going to write. I'm just speaking as an author now. But it's not so much the topic of the book, it's where you're going with the book. That's the biggest thing. To show, giving kids reasons to live or telling kids that things are going to be okay. Or, yes, I know this is hard, but, we've all been there and we'll all get through it. Don't give up on this. Don't realize that you're going through a process. It would be nice to have things, giving kids more hope and helping them ease it and definitely giving kids meaning. A lot of the books just don't give a kid meaning. So Azelle sort of finds her reasons to live, but I don't know that it's something that, not everybody's going to science camp. Not everybody's getting that. So what is the universal meaning that gets out of it? Maybe it's asking too much or going too deep, but...
I just think it would be nice for there to be an adult who could give some perspective. Because finding it in a friend, another teenager, is great, but another teenager, probably that's why romance is the reason, because at 17 or 15, that's what connection they have, though it doesn't always have to be a boy and a girl. It could be two girls or two guys who are just friends, but having an adult give perspective on, hey, it was hard for me too, but it can get better, might be.
Yeah. Or maybe they think they won't.
Might be
They
interesting.
want to show you that your friends could support you, and adults don't necessarily always have the answer. They don't have the answer. This the answer. I don't know, but yeah, it is a good point. Also, that let the guidance counselors help for once. Is everybody so useless? Like, when did that happen? Yeah.
Right. Also, it's just I think your insight as an author that if this is the story someone wanted to tell it. I think that's really good. But it's such a template, super into this. She's really into science, and the science teacher assigns this project, and the project, she starts talking about potential energy and what's my potential energy. That for me makes it feel
forced.
very corny. Instead of, maybe she figured something out in science or, an English class, but
probably because everyone's looking for a metaphor, right? That she compares what is matter, because she's into physics, right? So she does go there a lot with the,
right.
Yeah, with the energies and the matters and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I like the idea of potential, because I think that's sort of what the author gets to at the end is hey, you have potential, so don't waste it yet. So it's a good idea. It's just feels like really forced metaphor. Also, okay, I have two more things that I wanted to talk about the book. That sort of one that was good and one that kind of bothered me. So the one that kind of bothered me was that Azelle works on this school project about potential energy. This kid named Tyler, and a few chapters after they finish the project, she comments, "Oh, now Tyler says hi to me in the halls," which is weird. And I was really hoping that the project and working with this kid was going to be one of the things that convinced her, oh, people can be nice to me. People don't think I'm weird or scary or a monster, and I can have a life at school. But that sort of didn't go anywhere. And that was disappointing. Yeah. Because she set it up really well and then didn't do anything with it. So it was sort of disappointing. And then the one thing I did like about it, though, is that, so this character, Azelle, she's Turkish, and, it comes up once or twice that people never know how to pronounce her name, which, someone like Elt understands, because most people aren't named Elt. So sometimes people don't know how to pronounce your name, and if you have a name, it doesn't really matter what language your name is in. If it's different than the language of the speaker, exactly, they're probably going to have a problem with it.
Yeah, if I would go to Turkey,
Right, you're not used to things you're not used to, and then you learn it, and then you ask someone. Sometimes people pronounce my last name wrong all the time, then I say, oh, it's like this, and they say, okay, sorry, move on. Exactly. But she's Turkish, and other than that, it's not a big deal. It's not this thing about, oh, I'm Turkish in this small, in Indiana? Ohio? Somewhere in the Midwest. I'm Turkish in this small town, and people don't accept me.
What's with this
small town? It was all just
so much goes down in the small towns.
I guess it's really depressing. Yeah. So I like that. So good job, Jasmine Warga, not making it a big identity politics issue.
At least in this book. Probably because it's 2015. It's before all the craziness started.
That's true. It was pre-crazy.
Okay. Things were still whatever, but yeah.
Right. This is why we live in a bunker, people. Because it's cozy and safe, and we don't have to deal with all your craziness.
One of many reasons why we in our bunker world, everything is great.
Everything is great in the bunker. We should 100% make merch that says everything is better in a bunker.
In a bunker. Boom!
Boom. Done.
Time to go design this. Let's go pick the merch.
Perfect. Okay, I'm thinking artillery belts.
And hard hats. Construction
and hard hats. Perfect. All right. We're making this happen. You guys are going to buy it. For you special listeners, maybe we'll give you a discount code. We're going to make this happen. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers, peoples.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Oh My Word. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe and write a review. And please share the show with your friends. If you didn't like it, you can share the show with your enemies. Please also follow us on Instagram at Oh My Word Podcast. There we post episode updates, our ratings for each book, and also our personal reading recommendations. Music for the show is by Tim Burke. Editor is Gabriel Yaffe. We'll see you next week.